All right, let's talk about the massive contradiction at the heart of the AI revolution. Because on one hand, you've got the biggest capital spending cycle in the history of technology, and on the other, a growing wave of skepticism and just outright project failures. We believe that by 2026, this gap, this chasm between spending and actual success, is going to define the entire market. And in this explainer, we're going to bridge that gap for you. So here's our game plan. We're going to kick things off with the 2026 reality check, just the raw, hard numbers. Then we'll map out what we're calling the Great AI Divergence and enter the hard hat era. After that, we'll see how all of this kind of echoes the dot-com bust, and we'll wrap it all up with a really clear playbook for how to survive and, more importantly, thrive. Okay, section 1, the 2026 reality check. Let's just start with a number that grounds this entire conversation in reality. Get a load of this. The major tech players, we're talking Meta, Microsoft, Google, they're on track to spend a combined total of over $600 billion on AI infrastructure just this year. That is one of the largest capital investments in history. I mean, the scale is just unprecedented. But you gotta ask, where is all that money actually going? And, well, here's the rub. For all that incredible spending, a staggering 88% of AI pilot projects are failing before they even get off the ground. And the number one reason? A lack of AI-ready data. Companies are sitting on mountains of information, but they can't actually make it usable for their models. And that creates this huge gap between the investment and the results. So this brings us to the central question of this entire AI gold rush, the one you have to ask yourself. Are you holding the picks and shovels, the essential foundational tools, or are you just holding a handful of dirt? And that question leads us directly to our core thesis for this whole explainer, the Great AI Divergence. What we're seeing is a tale of two AIs, when the market is literally splitting down two very different paths. So on the left, you've got what we call the bubble zone. This is the world of software, AI agents, and a lot of ghost AI. Companies with these massive valuations, but no clear way to actually make a profit. It's all built on that old seat-based subscription model. But on the right, you have the hard hat era. And this is the world of atoms, not bits. We're talking power, cooling, data centers, and the physical grid hardware that makes everything else possible. CJ Guo, the CEO of StreamNative, he puts it perfectly here. The winners in a couple of years won't be the companies with the fanciest buzzwords. No way. They'll be the ones solving real, foundational problems. Because when the hype corrects, and trust me, it always does, the only ones left standing will be those who built something that people actually need. And this, right here, this is the existential threat facing that whole bubble zone. Some analysts are even calling it the software meltdown. Think about it. For decades, SaaS companies made their money selling subscriptions per person, per seat. But now, AI agents are threatening to automate those very humans, basically cannibalizing the entire revenue model that built Silicon Valley. We are watching creative destruction happen in real time. So this brings us right to section 3. Welcome to the hard hat era. We're going to dig into why the real durable advantage, the real moat in AI, is physical. I mean, just look at this. This image says it all. Code can be copied overnight. A brand new AI model that's on top of the world in January can be totally obsolete by June. But this, the physical pipes of AI, a fully permitted, liquid-cooled data center with a locked-in power contract, that can take 5 years to replicate. This is a hard, durable moat that software just can't compete with. And the bottlenecks really prove the point. I mean, you can build an AI app in a few months, but the data center you need to house it, that's 1 to 2 years. The electrical transformers to power it, you're looking at a 2 to 4 year wait. And a major grid upgrade to support all of it, that could take a decade or more. It's a fatal timeline mismatch between the speed of software and the reality of the physical world. And this infrastructure crunch, it has real-world consequences that go way beyond the tech sector. Near these big data center clusters, the insane demand for power has driven up wholesale electricity costs by 267%. The AI boom is literally becoming a socioeconomic issue, pitting the growth of tech against public energy stability. Now, for those of us who've been around the block a few times, all this talk of bubbles and hype, it starts to bring up some memories, right? So let's take a look at the echoes of the dot-com bust and see how 2026 really stacks up. This comparison is pretty fascinating. Today's valuations are actually less than half of the froth we saw at the dot-com peak. And unlike back then, today's AI leaders are actual profitable giants funding their own expansion. But here's the most critical difference, the bottleneck. In 2000, we had a massive oversupply of fiber optic cable. Today, we have a critical undersupply of compute and power. The problem has completely inverted. So, to sum it up, today's boom is definitely built on a more solid foundation of profitable companies. No doubt about it. But it is constrained by hard physical limits. The biggest threat to the entire AI revolution isn't a lack of ideas, it's a lack of power. Okay, so how in the world do you navigate this? Let's shift from just analysis to action with the Survivor's Tech Playbook. This is a framework for staying resilient in what is absolutely going to be a volatile era. So the core concept is called the barbell strategy. The idea is you avoid the fragile middle ground by putting most of your portfolio in ultra-safe assets and then a small, concentrated portion in those high-risk, high-reward ventures. And in this case, that high-reward slice is the invisible infrastructure. This protects you from shocks while still giving you that exposure to the massive upside. So here's your actionable checklist. First, go through your holdings and audit for what we call seat risk, any companies whose subscription models are vulnerable to AI automation. Second, consider increasing your exposure to those invisible infrastructure plays. Third, really focus on companies that have those durable physical moats we talked about. And finally, in this environment, you have to prioritize real tangible cash flow over speculative promises of revenue way off in the future. This whole playbook, it really just comes down to one simple principle. The goal isn't just to chase the boom. It's to be strong enough to withstand the correction that always follows. You have to survive today so you can thrive tomorrow. Look, here's the hard truth. In any bubble, the loudest voices almost always belong to the people who are about to lose everything. So the real question is, are you going to filter out that noise or are you going to follow it right over the cliff? It's about focusing on the signals that actually matter. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.